Check it. It's your boy 5 and I'm about to go live. Hey, come on. Yeah, come on. Come on. Yeah.
Stacy's going to demonstrate for us how to put on a wetsuit. When she's putting on a wetsuit, first thing she's going to do is start by turning a lot of it inside out. As she's turning it inside out, she's going to start from the bottom up. Most wetsuits for triathlon and open water swimming, the zipper is going to go in the back. The fabric side is the inside, the rubbery side is the outside. As she's putting it on, she's going to slip her foot in, and first thing she's going to do is work on getting it up over the calf. So notice that the whole wetsuit is inside out except for the very bottom. She's going to work on getting that up as high as possible to begin with. If you have trouble getting your wetsuit or your leg into your wetsuit, if it's really tight and you struggle getting your limbs in, a cheap grocery bag is going to be your best friend for that. So a good item to toss into your wet or your transition bag is a cheap grocery bag. Slide that over your foot and then slide into the wetsuit after that. It's going to break all the surface tension and allow you to glide in much easier, and then you just pull it out the other side. So once she gets it up over her calf, that's where we're going to start, is getting it up as high as possible on the leg, especially for taller athletes. The taller you are, the more important it is to get that wetsuit up nice and tall at the base of the legs. After the top of the calves, we're going to work it up over the knees, kind of working the body 1/6 at a time. So all the way up over the knees. After she goes over the knees, she'll go all the way up under the hips. We want to pull all of that slack out of the wetsuit, getting it up nice and snug underneath the groin. If you have any extra room in there, it's just going to fill with water and you'll have that negative buoyancy just towing the lake along with you. So as we work it up all the way up to the hips, that's going to be the first place to start. We don't want any folds or wrinkles, anything like that in the wetsuit. If you have those in there at this point, go ahead and just smooth them out. Best thing to do is to smooth them upwards first. We're trying to work on getting all the extra slack all the way up as high as we can towards the back of the shoulders is what we're aiming for, because in that freestyle stroke we want our shoulders, or the recovery phase of the stroke, to have as little resistance as possible. If you get that wetsuit on correctly and it fits properly, you shouldn't have much tension on your recovery phase of the stroke. Now it's up over her hips. She's going to start on the arms. Same thing with the trick with the grocery bag there, just sliding it in. Again, just like she did with the calf, she's going to aim for a little higher on the forearm. Again, the longer your limbs, the more important it is to work that wetsuit up nice and high. So Stacy's able to get hers about with the watch band. When I put mine on, just having longer arms, even having a longer wetsuit, I still need to aim significantly above the watch band by a couple inches so I can get the shoulders to fit well first. As she goes up the arm, just working a few inches at a time, always trying to pull from the inside of the wetsuit. The fabric on the inside is going to be a little more resilient to scratches and tears than the outside. The outside gets pretty fragile. Anytime you're pulling on your wetsuit, be sure to use the pads of your fingertips. Don't use your fingernails at any point. Try and use the pads only. When you are pulling it up over the forearm, notice what your sleeve looks like when it's on correctly. This particular wetsuit has a little catch panel on it to allow for some extra feel for the water that sits on the inside of the forearm. And so she's going to make sure that gets lined up correctly first. You don't want that twisted on the wrong side of the arm. You pull it up and the whole sleeve has to be rotated, because that gets pretty difficult once it's all the way up on your arm. As she continues to roll it up, again a few inches at a time, trying to get all that slack up towards the shoulders. At this point, it's when it's nice to have a buddy. If you have one, they can pull the extra slack into the back of the suit there and help you with your zipper. If you don't have one, practice a few times at home before you get into the race, just in case. Everything's looking pretty good right now for Stacy's Roca. As she makes her final adjustments Would you like to do a buddy assist, or do you want to go in solo?
Why don't I show it solo? And
All right. So as she's pulling the zipper up, holding a little tension at the bottom of the zipper to start, right? Just to make sure you're not yanking that zipper out of your suit. As she goes all the way to the top, she's kind of pinching that top fabric together to make sure that zipper can come all the way. Sometimes the fabric will fold up inside itself. Just be sure if you're feeling that zipper catch on something, there's a panel that runs on the inside to an extra layer of neoprene on the inside that you'll want to push out of the way of the zipper. Now that she's all the way up top, something to make sure you get done correctly is the neckline. If you want to prevent any extra chafing, rubbing, things like that, you'll want to be sure that neckline is folded nice and high on the inside, and then that Velcro piece goes low to the outside. If the Velcro is sticking over the top, it's going to have extra rubbing on the neck, and you want to prevent that. This is also a good area to add any body glide or anti-chafing material that you might have that is not Vaseline. Vaseline and wetsuits don't mix. She's looking pretty darn good. Feeling good?
feeling good.
Feeling like a
Ready to go
superhero?
for a swim.
All right.
Come on. Yeah.
So Stacy just went and had a quick dip in the water. As she's coming back up here, she's going to demonstrate how to take off the wetsuit. The last thing she did when she was exiting the water, that very last stroke, was to bend down and scoop a whole bunch of water into the suit. That's going to allow you to break the seal between your skin and the wetsuit and allow you to get it off a lot easier. So the first thing she's going to do, unzip it. This can be done while you're running up to transition, taking it off the arms. If you know that the wetsuit sticks a lot to your forearms or your calves, those are the two most common areas, forearms and calves, that scoop of water as you come out, those last couple of strokes, is going to be even more important. In the forearms, sometimes you have to kind of bend down a little bit and work the water in there. As soon as it breaks the seal though, try and get it off as quickly as possible. If you really struggle with it down on the legs, running all the way, if it's a long run to transition, it might be a little too long and it will reseal before you get there. Might be something you want to take off at the water's edge. So, she's into transition and here she goes with the wetsuit down over the legs. Now she's going to demonstrate the wetsuit shuffle. Just stepping on the wetsuit and then stepping to the side, allowing it to come out. That knee pop, if it's hung up and you can't quite get it just by stepping, grab the knee, pop it all the way out, and the wetsuit's off. She's going to drop that at the back of her transition area, and she's ready for T1.
Another thing, if your ankle gets stuck, you can use a couple of fingers, put it right down your Achilles and around the bottom of your foot to get that to pop right off.
Yep. So if you need that extra little boost, just using the thumb or a couple fingers past the Achilles to get it off the heel. All right, into transition.
Come on. Yeah.
So Blair just got done over at Packet Pickup. He's coming over and has a bunch of stuff he needs to figure out where to put on his bike. So there's a few things in the packet. One of those is the bike sticker. The bike sticker has both the stickers for your bike and the sticker for your helmet. So I'm gonna hold his bike so that he can go ahead and get that set up because he has to put those numbers on his bike before he goes into transition. The reason for that is so that we know the bike going in with you is the bike coming out. So it's a full sticker and he's gonna put it on his seat post. The most important part of the sticker placement is that the number is visible from both sides of your bike. You can put it up here on the seat post. You can put it, if you have a flat seat tube, you can put it on the side. You can actually trim right down the middle so that you can stick one on each side. You can also put it here on the top tube. If you do put it on the top tube, you should scoot it back as far as you can close to your seat tube so that it doesn't interfere with your knees on the bike. You don't want it rubbing up here on your knees. So now that he's got his bike sticker on, he needs to get the helmet sticker on.
We'll do that in transition.
Oh, he'll do that in transition. All right. So the next thing that is in the packet, we've got his bib number. The bib number is for wearing on the run and the run only. You can wear it on the bike, but you don't have to wear it on the bike, and you definitely don't wear it in the swim. He's gonna put that on a race belt later, and we'll show you that in transition. He also got a swim cap. The swim cap matches the color of his wave, so when he goes in the water, he'll be getting in the water with a bunch of other white caps. Last thing that may be in your packet at some races, or maybe something you pick up at body marking, is the timing chip. The timing chip usually comes on a strap, and that strap goes onto your left ankle. The reason it goes on your left is in case it gets a little loose, it doesn't get caught in the chain of your bike. So you put it on your left ankle, snug but not too tight. You should be able to stick a finger in and have room. And then it's great to put the hard piece of plastic, the timing chip itself, kind of on the outside of your ankle, just in case your feet hit together when you're running, you don't accidentally kick the plastic. So now that he's got all of that stuff, the next step from packet pickup, you sticker your bike, and then you go to body marking. And at body marking, they're gonna mark on your arms and on your legs. So depending on what outfit you're wearing, if you're wearing a short sleeve kit, then they'll mark your forearm. If you are wearing a tank top, then they'll mark your upper arm. On both sides, in most races, they usually mark your hand, and then they'll put markings on your calves. So as you go up to the body marking line, it's great to get yourself in a position to be able to be body marked easily.
All right.
So we'll pretend like we drew on him today. All right, what's your age? What race are you doing? All right, and we'll send him into transition.
Into transition. When I come into transition, first thing I'm going to look for is the signs in transition that have bib numbers on them. The bib numbers are going to correlate to which race you're in. Not all races will have assigned racks. For most of the Best and West events races, you will have a specific location on a bike rack. So you find the rack that's labeled with your bib range, go to that rack, and then you'll be looking for your name and number on the rack itself. So I'll be racking right on the center of my name and number. So if that's labeled right here, my bike gets centered on that side, and my wheel's gonna touch down on whichever side that sticker is facing. So if I'm looking at the sticker on this side, my wheel touches down on the same side. You get one side of the bike rack for your transition zone and about 18 inches on one side of your bike. When racking, you have a few different options. As a taller athlete, I can't rack the same way that Stacy can. Sometimes I need to rack by my handlebars to make sure my bike stays put. You can also rack by your seat, like Stacy has here, by the nose of her seat. And some saddles, depending on what saddle you have on your bike, you can also rack by the back of the seat. I have a flat kit on here, so I'm not going to be able to rack by the back. If it's really close on getting your bike underneath the rack here, looping under so I can rack by the nose of my seat, I would not recommend doing this on race day because you're going to have bikes on either side of you. And it's going to be difficult to lean that bike to the side to get out cleanly. So for me, in a taller bike frame, I'm going to rack by the handlebars.
Come on. Yeah.
Let's talk about how to set up your transition. Blair's going to demonstrate for us, and I'll walk you through it. Coming into transition, first thing he's going to set out is a small towel. Note that it's a small towel, and that's going to designate his space. He's going to be able to use that to wipe any grit off of his feet, wipe off his hands, and do whatever he needs to do with the towel, but it's a very small space. You've got about 18 inches to work with before your neighbor bike is going to be right next to you. So he's going to drop off his wetsuit. That's going to get put on later. He's got his helmet and bike gear that he's going to put out first. So he is unclipping his helmet and setting his helmet in a position where when he goes to put it on his head, it will be in the right direction. So he's put his sunglasses in his helmet, upside down to us looking at it. But for him, when he goes to put his helmet on his head, it'll actually be in the right direction. That way you get the front of the helmet on the front, the back of the helmet in the back, so you're not that guy running out of transition with your helmet on the wrong direction. It happens all the time. So if it does happen, don't worry about it, just spin her around. You can set yourself up for success by starting with your helmet facing the right direction. So he's gonna throw his helmet sticker on his helmet. It goes front and center. In a race where they give you one sticker, usually they want it right smack on the front. If they don't want it on the front, they'll tell you something different at packet pickup, but it usually goes front and center. If you get additional stickers, they're usually for the sides of your helmet. We just give one at our races. He has his bib number. That is for wearing on the run, like we said earlier. And he's gonna put that on a race belt rather than pinning it to his jersey. A race belt is a cheap piece of equipment that you can pick up to make your transition a little bit easier. You just put the bib on it, and then when you go for the run portion of the event, you just pick up the belt and snap it around your waist. And then it's ready to go for a run. Blair likes to crinkle up his bib before he gets started on the race. If you crinkle it up, then it makes the bib a little bit softer and not as swooshy on your legs. It's a total optional thing to do, but he's always crinkling up his numbers into a little ball and then opening it back up. The beverage tickets that are, or the food tickets, or any tickets that go on your bib at our events, it's fine if you take those off in advance, or you can fold them under. They're not part of your official race number. If you do take them off though, make sure you get them from your transition before you try to go through the food line so that you don't get sent back for your tickets later. Next we've got a couple different pairs of shoes. You may have 2 pairs of shoes and you may have 1 pair of shoes, just depending on what you're actually racing in. Blair has bike shoes specific for his bike, so he's gonna put out his bike shoes. He pre-opened the Velcro so that they're ready to go directly on his feet. It's opened up and ready to be put on. He has the bike shoes positioned on his towel closest to him, and then he placed his run shoes further back on the towel. The reason for that is the bike's first, so let's put the bike gear first. He's got his shoes. He left a little towel space in between. He uses that to wipe off his feet when he comes running up from the swim so that he can get any gravel or rocks. And then he can just slide on into his shoes, put on his helmet, clip the strap, and be ready to take his bike for a ride. So he is actually just going to put that stuff all back so that we can see how he would have it ready for the run and the bike all set up.
I use my cowboy hat as my run hat here. We'll have a slightly different change. Right.
Okay, so he's got his bike shoes ready and they are in the back portion of the towel. Then his helmet is sitting on top of his running hat. Underneath his helmet, he actually put his running sunglasses because, of course, Blair needs to run in his aviators, not in his biking glasses. So he's got his hat, he's got his bib in it, he's got his treats in it, he's got his glasses in it, so that when he comes in, he's going to come in the first time, take off his wetsuit, put his wetsuit behind his towel. He'll have his bike shoes ready. He'll get his bike shoes on, he'll get his helmet and glasses on, and then when he comes back off the bike, those items will be clear and he can grab his hat. He can put on his running shoes, grab his hat, and just run out of transition with a hat full of stuff, and he can start placing that stuff as he's out on the run. So this is Blair's transition setup, which is a little bit simpler than maybe some other transition setups you might see. If it's a hot race, you're probably going to wear less equipment, and if it is a colder race, you might wear more things. So we'll set up a transition also for a colder race.
Come on. Yeah.
So I'm all set up with my transition. Stacy's going to demonstrate how she sets up transition, and she's also going to demonstrate how it's set up for maybe a colder race, one that's a little wet, or just colder air temperature. So she's going to have a few more things in her transition setup to ensure that she is nice and warm if she's racing in cold conditions. So when setting up for a colder race and putting on more layers, the most important thing is to just prep as much as you can. So things like your socks, if you're wearing socks, have them rolled inside out. So you put them on just the toe first and then can roll them up your foot after that. Everything's a little bit more difficult when you're soaking wet, just came out of the water. These are also good things to practice. So if you know you're going to be putting socks on during your race, practice putting them on when you first get out of the bathtub or shower or something like that with wet feet. Try getting your socks on, see which ones you like to slide on over your feet, and roll them a little inside out first. She's also going to set up some leg warmers and arm warmers. Again, just a few extra layers to keep the limbs warm while she's racing. And again, she's going to roll these inside out, and she's going to set them on top of her shoes because she's going to put those leg warmers on first before she puts the socks and the shoes on. It's little things like that that will start to add up in your transition time. If you're having to dive back into your bag to get things, if you're having to re-roll or unroll things as you put them on, all that time adds up, and transitions are part of the race. Next, she's got some arm warmers, so she'll be sliding those on and just roll them down accordingly as far as she can. So they'll get right over the watch line and slide up the forearm from there. When you're putting those on, you can always get those on just on past the wrist and then slide them up more once you're on the road. So something you can do on the bike if you're comfortable doing that. So one more thing to save some time. So she's got her arm warmers, her leg warmers. She's also going to throw an extra top on. So she's going to put a tank top on. Maybe you swam in just your tri-bottoms and a sports bra, and you want to put a top on over the, a tri-top or something on over the top for the ride. She's going to set that the way she puts it on, so top down, so when she picks it up it's ready to go over the top. Depending on the shirt style, some of them you can also step into. So if this was a more spandex style of shirt, she'd be able to step into it and pull it up from the bottom. This is going to allow you to pull up through the wrinkles rather than pulling it over the top. A lot of times it will bind up. Again, something to practice at home before you get into a race scenario. Whatever you're racing with, just try it out a few times before you come race morning. Stacy, you got anything else you're going to throw into your cold transition here? She's going to set her glasses for the bike ride. She'd probably have, if it was a really cold race, some sort of skull cap or something to go on underneath the hat, keeping that heat on your head as best as possible is going to be really important. She might throw a jacket on if it's really cold. Again, depending on the athlete and the conditions, some people can race in just their normal tri-suit from start to finish regardless of the transitions. Other ones get cold really easy and you're going to want to layer up. What else you got in there? She'll finish setting up her little detail. She's got a race belt with her bib number already on it. At this point, she should already have her timing trip strap on. As soon as you come into transition, that would be already on your body. She's going to put her stuff inside her cowboy hat, which she's going to have on the run. So we have a bit more stuff here in the cold transition, but the basics are still the same in terms of the way she flows through it. It's going to be out of the water. First she comes in, it's going to be bike gear first. All the bike gear comes on. When she comes out of the water, she'd likely throw her wetsuit all the way to the back of transition, setting it on top of her bag so it's out of the way.
Oh, see, I put my arm warmers. Should have put my arm warmers over my jacket.
Oh. So if she just put her jacket on first before her arm warmers because it was on top, right? So if she's going to put both of them on, put the arm warmers on top of your jacket before you start your transition. One last thing to forget, have to take back off the jacket in the middle of the race. So arm warmers go on. Then she'll be moving to the jacket. If your jacket has a zipper, be sure that's also prepped. If it doesn't have a zipper, be sure it's a jacket you can actually get on over all the stuff you have also going with you. Leg warmers going up, then her socks and shoes, and she's ready to head out. The one thing she doesn't have with her today, or two things, would be the skull cap as well as some gloves. If it's going to be a really cold race, some gloves to keep the dexterity in your fingers can be really helpful. But that's a good transition for a whole lot of cold gear to keep her warm.
What do you think, babe? Is this a good look with the
I think
jorts,
it's a great look. If the cowgirl hat could go on top of the helmet, it'd be even better.
Come on. Yeah.
We've got some tips and tricks for you to kind of help make your race a little bit better. First thing is, when you're out on the bike, there is often the motivation to really go hard and really crush and push those hills and really dig deep for your best bike split. But keeping your cadence higher on the bike is actually going to help you save some leg for the run, so especially at the end of the bike. So if you approach a hill, take an easier gear and try to spin your way up it to save some of your legs for later on in the run. And then that last mile or so of the bike, really shift into an easy gear and just spin those legs at a nice high cadence, because your running cadence is probably a little bit faster than your usual biking cadence. So just getting your legs ready for that kind of turnover on the run will help make that transition from bike to run work a little bit easier. Another thing is talking about the nutrition on your bike and where to put stuff. Right now, Blair's bike is set up for a pretty short distance race. He doesn't have any water on the bike. We just taped on a hammer gel up on the top tube. You can use a piece of electrical tape around the top. Then when you rip the gel, the top actually stays on your bike and you don't end up with a bunch of extra trash. You can add a bottle cage on and put a water bottle there. You could put an aero bottle on. Just adding more to the bike for the longer distances so that you have your nutrition with you.
Can you take a backpack with you?
You absolutely can take a backpack with you. You can take a camelback with you. You can take a regular like drawstring backpack, whatever you are comfortable with. Whatever you do, practice that before you come to race day so that you are not getting new like chafing or sores or anything from that bag that you didn't know were going to happen.
Also set up on my bike right now is a flat kit. Flat kit's something that is recommended to take with you on any race. We do have SAG support at events, support and gear out there, helping fix flats, spare tires, things like that. But where they're out on course relative to where you get a flat or a mechanical is not always consistent. So we recommend taking a flat kit with you. In this flat kit, I have a CO2 cartridge and adapter. This is going to be my air. You could also carry a small hand pump. I prefer the CO2 for races. I have a couple of tire levers to help me get the tire on and off. I have a few patches, another CO2, and a couple tubes. So I'm set up for 2 flats right now that I could get out on course and be able to still get myself in safely. One thing to note is be sure your stem on your spare tubes matches whatever you have on your bike. So if you have really deep wheels, be sure that you're carrying a stem or stem adapter that you can, valve adapter, that can ensure that you can get air into it.
Hey Blair, do you want to talk about maybe some of the rules in transition? Maybe
I would love to talk about rules.
Violations?
So we have 3 most common violations on the bike. Those are the 3 most common rule violations for USA Triathlon rules. They are drafting, blocking, and littering. Taking those in order, drafting. The draft zone is a 7 meter by 2 meter zone around the rider. That 7 meters is from your front wheel, the front of your wheel if you're the approaching rider making a pass. If I'm coming into someone's draft zone, as soon as my front wheel hits 7 meters, I'm now in the draft zone, and that's 7 meters to the back end of their rear wheel. So from your front end to their back tire, that 7 meters is your drafting zone. As soon as you come within that draft zone, you have 15 seconds to make the pass. So if you're not quite sure what that 7 meters is going to look like, it's also about 3 bike lengths, or the distance between 2 hash marks on the road. The passing lane hash marks, those are what referees will use often to gauge the distance between riders. Those are also about a draft zone distance length. Once you initiate the pass, so once you enter that drafting zone, you have 15 seconds to make the pass. You must make the pass on the left-hand side. So as you are approaching the rider, you make the pass on the left-hand side at all times. That leads us to rule violation number 2, which is blocking. If a rider that is going to be passed is riding to the left-hand side of the road, they are blocking the athlete behind them from completing that pass safely and legally. So that's the blocking rules. Anytime you're riding to the left-hand side of the road, or you're not all the way to the right-hand side, the white line, or in the bike lane, depending on the road, that's where you need to be as an athlete, except for when you are actively passing. So riding to the right-hand side of the road at all times, except for while you're actively passing, that will avoid getting a blocking penalty.
So you always have to ride to the right?
Always ride to the right, always pass on the left. Anytime you're pulling out to make a pass, most of the races around here in the Northwest are open courses, which means there's some vehicle traffic out there. Always be sure to give a quick check over the shoulder, make sure there's no other athletes coming or vehicles out there before you pull out to the left-hand side of the road. Our last common rule violation is littering. The perk of putting your nutrition on the bike in a way like this, where you secure the extra trash. So this little lid here is going to be taped to my bike. I'm going to tear that off, have my goo. I can tuck that goo in my back pocket, but I don't have this little piece floating around that I have to worry about dropping, because anything you take on your bike out with you has to come back with you. So if you drop a bottle, you drop a goo, you drop your flat kit, you have to stop and pick it up. The only time that is not the case is at aid stations on the bike course, where you have a bottle exchange. You can drop a bottle and pick up a bottle within the aid station zone. So those are 3 most common rule violations of drafting, blocking, and littering.
I have a question. What if I have somebody out to support me? Can they help me out by handing me that nutrition so I don't have to put tape on my bike? Or can they hand me a bottle, or can they hand me anything?
That's a good question. They can hand you stuff if they're a volunteer for the race at one of the aid stations. There's no outside support during the race, so if you have your friends, spectators, things like that, be sure all of your nutrition, anything you're getting from them, is with you in transition before the start of the race. You don't want to pick up a penalty from someone giving you a hand up that's not available to all the other athletes. Anything that's available to all athletes, the SAG vehicles, aid stations, things like that, that's all fair game. But if it's something specifically for you, that can't be given from outside assistance. It's an outside assistance rules penalty and can also get you dinged.
What about headphones? Can I wear headphones in the race? Maybe just one?
At USA Triathlon events, there are no headphones at any point in time, no audio devices actually. That's both for safety and fairness. So no headphones in the swim, bike, or run. If you have your boombox with you, that's got to stay with you in transition. It can't go with you out on course. So there's no audio at any point during the race, just you and the rhythm of your feet. What other questions you got?
Oh gosh, that's it for the moment, except for maybe what we can wear.
Yeah, so what you can wear. All right. For USA Triathlon rules, you have to have something covering your bottom half at all times. That can be anything from a Speedo to jogging pants, anything in between. Top half, ladies, you have to have at least a sports bra on. You are allowed to have things unzipped, front zippers, back zippers, things like that are all legal for USA Triathlon rules. We have a few examples here of triathlon kits. These are kits made specifically for the sport for the most part. So here we have a sleeveless kit, which is a front zipper sleeveless kit, and it's got a few back pockets back here that you could slide some nutrition into if you needed to on the bike. You tuck your picky bar in the back there and you're good to go for your bike ride. If it's something that's not going to be easily taped to the bike itself. This is a full sleeve kit, so this is going to cover the shoulders. Again, front zip, but full sleeves. Also a legal piece of apparel. The perk of triathlon kits is going to be the chamois inside. So as opposed to a bike chamois, this is much thinner and it's going to drain a little better. It's going to feel a little more comfortable on the run. It's still going to give you some padding on the bike, and it's not going to soak up like a diaper on the swim. We recommend whatever you are training in, that's what you should race in. So if you have a swimsuit that you always swim in at home, go ahead and swim in that during the race. At our events, we have changing tents in transition that are available. That's not the case at every event, so just be sure you're aware of what's available to you. If you can minimize the amount of changing you have to do during the race, that's going to speed up your time. But especially if you're a novice athlete or just wanting to get through your first try, do it with whatever you're going to be most comfortable in.
So something we see a lot of first timers do, especially ladies, is we throw on a sports bra underneath our swimsuit, or just swimming in a sports bra and some tri shorts or some bike shorts. Then when you come into transition, your bike shorts are already on, your sports bra is already on, it's not rolling up in the back, and then you can throw on a shirt. If you put on a shirt, just try putting that on straight out of the shower. It helps to try it with your body wet and see if you can get that shirt on easily, and then just roll it on over the top. So it's okay to wear shorts and a t-shirt. You can put shorts over the top of your shorts, whatever is comfortable for you.
Great. A couple other tips as we close here. Anything you learned new today, go ahead and practice it before you put it into a race. So whatever you're doing on race day, just make sure you've done it before, whether it's how you set up your bike or what shoes you're wearing, what shoe laces you have. Try all those out before race day. You don't want to throw anything new into the mix on race day. Make sure you've practiced with whatever you're swimming, biking, and running with. So Stacy has some quick laces in her shoes here. They're just little elastic pieces that are going to lace up and allow her to slip into her shoes easier. Depending on the shoes, sometimes you need quick laces because of how rigid the shoe is. Other ones, like this shoe here, it has a soft enough upper that I can slide into it with my regular laces in there, but something I've practiced a few times to make sure that tension is something I can both get into with a damp foot as well as be comfortable running in without socks during a race.